Barbarians of Lemuria is my go-to system for everything. I like to use it for every genre and every setting. And that is because of its simple and easy to learn rules that are just complex enough to satisfy my personal mechanical needs. And because the rules are simple, they are easy to modify and change things around to fit your settings. And there are a lot of variations for the rules for use in other settings, and the community calls them hacks. The most famous hacks probably is Barbarians of the Aftermath. I've personally written hacks and led games for Star Wars, Call of Cthulhu, Conan the Barbarian and Shadowrun with the Barbarians of Lemuria rules. The basic rules are easy enough to explain. Your character is firstly described by 4 attributes: strength, agility, mind and appeal, and each attribute comes in a score from -1 to 5, with 0 being the human standard and 3 being the maximum for a normal human. You also have combat abilities, initiative, melee, ranged and defense, and finally careers and boons and flaws. The basic skill check is made by rolling 2d6 and add your appropriate attribute and combat ability or career outside of combat, and trying to beat the target number of 9. It's always the target number of 9, and depending on the difficulty of the skill check, the game master can give a penalty or bonus. Careers are what counts as a skill system in Barbarians of Lemuria. Usually your character will have more than one career, like thief, pirate, dancer, mercenary, gladiator. And you can apply your career score when you make a skill check on anything that someone with that career would usually do. Like a thief can pick locks. A scout would be really good at tracking. And with this you just have a few numbers on your character sheet and not an extensive skill tree with like 24 different skills, which you only need 6 anyhow. There's also a number of boons and flaws. Most of them will give you a bonus or a penalty die to your rolls in certain situations. For example, you might have a trademark weapon, and whenever you attack with that weapon, you will get bonus die for your roll. So you roll 3d6 and take the 2 highest of those. The magic system is also fairly simple. You don't have a set of spells, but rather you have 4 levels of spells and some examples of what that might be and how powerful that might be, and what conditions your character needs to fulfill to cast these spells. Like he has to see the target, he has to utter an incantation, or for more powerful spells you might need the stars aligned in the right way and maybe a virgin sacrifice. But this system makes it easy to use it for other forms of magic, like the Force in Star Wars. Generally, because the rules are so simple, it's easy to adjust them to any setting. Just add the classes you need for that setting to the class list and add a few setting appropriate boons and flaws if needed. Add some weapons and armor lists. Boom, you're done. The rules, however, are not terribly beginner friendly, so I wouldn't recommend it to a totally new player. You won't have a problem with them if you played another game like Dungeons and Dragons or Symbaroum or Conan or anything before. For example, there are no fixed rules for combat actions. Nowhere in the rules it says how many actions you can take within one combat round, or even what a combat round is for that matter. So what I did, I just lifted the rules for combat actions, range and movement from the latest Conan RPG. That works perfectly well. We could just as well use the D&D rules for combat and movement. Or what I find interesting as well, you could use something I'd like to call cinematic initiative. What I mean by that is that the order of combat works like the camera in a movie. You as the GM are the director of the movie and focus on whatever action is important to the narrative, and whatever player is involved in that action takes his actions, makes his rolls, and you as a GM decide when it is time to make a cut to another character, to another piece of your combat narrative. And also other players might want to intervene in one scene and come running from off screen to save the player that just botched his roll terribly. Or you can pull some more NPCs from off screen and let them have their turn, just so the action flows natural and exciting. I think excitement is all important in a system like that. That could be a lot of fun if your group is up for that, I think. But whatever works for you. Also, because the rules are so simple, there's not a lot of room for character development. There's no in-depth skill tree like in D20 systems. You can just put more points in your attributes, combat abilities, careers, and get more boons and flaws and better armor and equipment, and that's it. For me personally, that's enough. But it might not be the best system for a long campaign. But if you're just playing one-shots, quick adventures that will be over in 1 to 3 sessions, you won't run into that problem at all. Finally, we have the setting of Lemuria itself. It's a classic sword and sorcery setting, lifted from the books of Thongor of Lemuria, and it's your basic dark fantasy world with barbarians and evil wizards, but with a little twist. On the continent of Lemuria, dinosaurs and lizards still exist, so you might run into enemy cavalry charging at you on their velociraptors, or a merchant whose carriage is drawn by a triceratops, or if you're unlucky you will run into a T-Rex in the jungles of Lemuria. Fun stuff. The core rulebook has just enough description of Lemuria and its people and cultures, some pre-made example adventures, and very helpful random adventure tables you can use to get started on your own campaign. All in all, if you like simple, fast and fun rules, or you're a fan of classic sword and sorcery, I can recommend Barbarians of Lemuria to you, and you should check out the latest rule set. That's it for today's video. If you liked the video, leave a like down below, let me know in the comments. If you want to see more of it, consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks and goodbye.